Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Sick Steve, and joining me, as usual, is my very healthy co-host, Dwaylen Davis. Hi, Dwaylen.
Hey, everybody.
And we are so privileged to be joined with us today by two of the members from the J and Trey podcast. You've heard us talk about them before. Now we actually get to see them. We have Jake and we have Trey. Hello, gentlemen.
How's it going,
Hello.
guys?
How are
And
you guys?
we're
Pretty
doing all
good.
right. And thank you so much for joining us. And we also have to say thank you for having us on your podcast last
Yeah.
night.
It
So
was
Yeah,
a
that-
pleasure.
That was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
yeah, it was. I mean, that's what Joel and I, we've been talking about that all day. I mean, we've definitely got to do that again. And if there's any chance, Joel, we're going to figure this out. We're going to do like a simulcast, like the last night of WCW Nitro.
Yeah.
We'll,
Oh
we'll-
man.
man, we will definitely, we'll have to figure this out, because, yeah, we had a lot of fun. And
Oh
if it hadn't been for COVID, I actually would have met Trey this past Saturday at the NWF down in Covington. But he got to go. He got to meet Chris Harris, which I've had the chance, and I got to admit I've been kind of slacking, but I didn't want to bother the man while he's busy either. And even though I probably should have. So, and who else was there as well?
Jordan Clearwater.
Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, that'd have been another good one. So wow. So yeah, Joel, I think we're definitely privileged to have these guys on.
Absolutely. I agree.
yeah, we definitely do appreciate it. I mean, last night we had a lot of fun. I mean, pretty much talking about y'all's knowledge of wrestling, which was definitely incredible, and a lot of great questions. And I had a lot of fun with it. I kept telling Trey it was a great time, and we're just happy to get a chance to be here.
And I'm gonna have to make sure I really focus on who I'm talking to or who's talking to me, because all I see are sweet Funko Pop collections and two of the things. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to make sure I don't mix you guys up.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Uh,
So how did your pod J and Trey, or actually now it's TNC Sportscast or Sports Talk?
It's TNC SportsTalk.
So how did y'all start that? Because I caught up I caught it not that long ago. It was just a few weeks ago, and it was right before y'all were transitioning from J and J to J and Trey.
So
And go ahead,
Yeah.
Trey.
so I'm actually the original. I've been there the longest out of the two of us. So I actually once started with two J's. That's why it was called J and J. There was two guys named Justin. And all of a sudden, I was like, it's a wrestling sports talk. I like wrestling. I'm just gonna promote it. I started promoting it even without their permission. No, I just on Facebook, Twitter, every day, every episode, I was just promoting it. And all of a sudden, Justin came to me and said, "Hey, you want to be our promoter?" I said, "Okay, cool. I'll promote every show for you and get you out there." And then the other Justin, the work started being harder for him and everything, so he couldn't be on every show. So I had been asked if I could be his backup, when he couldn't make the show. And then after that, I took his spot. And then later on down the road, we were like, Justin ain't gonna come back. Maybe we should just switch the name. And that's where it is now, the J and Trey podcast and TNC Sports Talk.
Great. And Jake, when did you come in?
I think it was probably I would say by around what, Trey, like November. I got a chance to join.
Okay.
Yeah, it had to be around November, and I got a message from Trey because I heard about the podcast and everything, and he was like, "Hey, I really think you'll be a really great addition to the team." And I was like, "Okay." And so I met Justin, and the very first time, I never really got a chance to be interviewed to get a chance to know about who I am, especially how passionate I am for wrestling. And ever since then, I've been a part of this team ever since November, probably about a good 2 months now. And I work my tail off, whether if it's on the podcast, outside the podcast. I just try to make sure that we help and promote our podcast as much as we possibly could.
Wow. Yeah, so Dwayne and I, we didn't have to interview each other because we've known each other for so long.
Yeah.
So, and so as far as like your wrestling fandom, how long have you been a wrestling? I know Trey, you mentioned last night you've been a wrestling fan since 2000.
2000. My very first match I'd ever seen that as I could remember, and that's why Goldberg is my favorite wrestler of all time, is the Goldberg versus Hulk Hogan match in WCW. And that's where it started for me.
Okay.
For me, it was like probably about around I would say around since 1997. I was probably about 3 years after I was born, and next thing you know, like I started growing up with my oldest brother Matt and my papa from my mom's side, and we was like all into wrestling. I remember we had one TV, WCW on the other side, and then on the other side it was WWE on the other side, and so it was very, very awesome. I remember how big of a fan my oldest brother Matt was. He was a big fan of Sting, big fan of The Undertaker. I mean, I will admit this. As a little kid, I was scared of The Undertaker. Especially the whole Ministry of Darkness type of stuff. And I'm like, I'm not used to it now. But then I finally grew over that phase. But as far as like, the stuff I remember seeing when I was little, I remember seeing obviously the American Badass, Undertaker, to Jeff Hardy doing this stuff. So I pretty much just been around since I was little.
What do you think, Dwayne? You got anything for him?
Well, like I said last night, I've been a fan since I was 5, so it's like I honestly can't even remember the first match that I ever saw. I know the Andersons were in it, but I can't remember who they were. I can't remember who they were wrestling, but I grew up watching, like when I first started watching wrestling, it was Mid-South and Jim Crockett Promotions, and it was that kind of stuff. So it's like, even now I like that kind of like down and dirty vibe of, not to say that WWE is bad. They do some stuff I'm not a fan of, but just the style that I like is more no nonsense, more focused on the wrestling than the entertainment part.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you guys think about how it seems everybody talks about, the different brands they like, and everybody kind of identifies with a brand where, and Dwayne and I mean, we are fans of wrestling. I mean, and maybe that's a byproduct of growing up with the territories. Is, I mean, we could turn and say, oh, wrestling, and you're looking going, okay, which organization is this? Because every once in a while you'd have these ones that would pop up just for a couple of months before they fold again. And, and so we don't really have necessarily a brand. We may have one, we say, okay, that one performs better than the other. But we don't say, okay, we're never going to watch the other one. That,
right.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of started with the Monday Night Wars because you had to make a choice then.
Oh yeah.
So when Dwayne and I, we've actually talked about, it seems the WWE, their focus is more on the wrestling supporting the storylines rather than the storyline supporting the wrestling. That's why you see these 20-minute skits that start out Raw every week. What are your opinions on that?
Trey?
You could go first.
To me personally, it's like I'm the guy who just simply enjoys matches. I mean, you have to throw in every segment, but there was a reason why, like, outside of the WWE and outside of like all these promotions, there's actually more promotions that focus on just the wrestling than there are segments. So I really feel like, to me, it's just like, it's pointless just to waste 20 minutes per segment instead to actually get a chance to focus on the match that you made the match happen. So, I mean, let's watch it. Let's stop wasting all this time. I mean, there's 3 hours. I mean, you don't have to add too much filler, in every show. So I'm not really a fan of like these 20 minutes, 30-minute segments. I say just focus on the wrestling. Then after that, we'll get to the segment later on. That's the way I felt about it.
Now, me, myself, I tune into wrestling to watch matches. I like the action. Like instance, NWF. You don't see that much talking. You see fighting. And that's what I like about wrestling. But Raw, you always see these goofy talk shows. Like for instance, Kevin Owens was just on his one talk show he has, the Kevin Owens show. Why have that? I want to see shut up and fight is what I want to see.
Yep.
So to me, really and truly, if you think about this, and this is something I've grown to love. I've pretty much grown with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That has been one of my favorites over the last couple of years, because with them, it's like you don't really see much storylines because the match itself helped build a storyline. You see the rivalries, right?
Exactly.
You've seen Okada and Tanahashi to Nakamura and AJ Styles. I mean, all those incredible feuds. I mean, not only that, but yet it was also how they build a match and how much they had to be able to do to promote it. And then you look at other companies. I mean, you look at Ring of Honor and Impact Wrestling. I mean, they don't really put too much in segments because they pretty much put on the matches where they need to do. And I remember just loving Ring of Honor because it was the style. I mean, we had Adam Cole against AJ Styles. I'm gonna go on and on and on about this, but my point is like I just enjoy promotions outside of WWE because the way that they build a storyline is something I enjoy.
I agree. I told a friend of mine one time, we were talking about like WWE and AEW and different things. I'm like, if you want to watch entertainment, then if you want to watch an entertainment program, then you watch a WWE program. If you want to watch a professional wrestling program, then you watch AEW, Ring of Honor, PWG, Impact, New Japan, all those. But there's, WWE is just not the end all be all of pro wrestling like they want everybody to think. There's so many other places to get your fill of pro wrestling, like real pro wrestling, not the watered down version that WWE likes to give us.
Amen.
And I want to so me myself, I'm such a big WWE fan. That's all I've ever watched besides TNA. To me, it is hard for me to get into new wrestling companies such as AEW because it's so new. I barely know anybody. Ones I know is the old WWE guys. And I was always the type of person like I'll never go to an independent wrestling show. I was that guy.
That's changed now, hasn't it?
Until the good old Monster Abyss showed up.
I can tell you all this. So what people don't know is like before the podcast, Trey and I have been friends for Trey, about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, like the problem was with me is like I'm like watching like New Japan or Ring of Honor, then there's him. I'm like, when are you going to start watching NXT? When are you going to start watching these promotions? He said, I will never watch any of these promotions until I think about last year, I finally got him to watch AEW. And then we have a little group chat, myself, Justin, and him, and he messages randomly like, hey, Heyman Adam Page is going to take on Lance Archer, and none of us had to force him to watch the show. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this really happening?
And it's wild, Waylon, besides the fact that we're going to have to really send Trey some links to some really old school stuff. If you don't already have WWE Network on Peacock, they have a lot of good stuff from the 80s, some back in the 60s and 70s, because unfortunately a lot of the video from back then was destroyed because a lot of them just did not see the value in keeping it, and so they would record over it. So a lot of those old matches they don't exist on video anymore. And that's why Joel was talking about last night, the last Battle of Atlanta between Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer. They finally found some video, and it's real grainy, but it is there.
Yeah.
But it's wild, Joel, because some of these conversations that we're having is the same conversations that were going on back in the mid 80s when the WWF were really starting to rise.
Yeah.
It was, if you want cartoonish characters, literally they had their own cartoon show because I watched it.
I remember that,
They had their own cartoon
show. I watched it too.
we watched it. So or if you wanted to watch wrestling. So if you want the entertainment part, the cartoonish part, you watched WWF. If you wanted everything else, actual wrestling, you watched everything else. And sometimes you'd see the transition of the characters, or the wrestlers, when they would go from any of these other companies and they'd go to the WWF, and their style just it was different. It was a lot different. I mean, they could have been doing the same moves, but it just felt different for some reason.
It's like the pace is a lot slower. Like, if you look at a Ring of Honor show or an AEW show and their pace, like you look at Hangman Page, either of the two matches with Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, you look at the pace that they kept up, especially the hour draw that they went, that the pace that they kept. You never see anything like that in WWE. I mean, it's because, one, it's like because they do their best to phase out the guys that can keep that kind of pace. And then two, it's just like that's not the style Vince wants to present. And it's like, you do know that wrestling has moved on from that. It's like that he's going, instead of moving forward, he's going back to like that, mid 2010s style, which was like not very good. I mean, business was not good for them, especially like 2010, 2011. Like even after Punk did the pipe bomb, the Punk stuff was great, but everything else was still like, it's like everything goes at half speed in WWE. And it's like, you can tell because you see the guys leave. Like you look at Malachi Black when he was in NXT. I mean, that stuff was great. They bring him to the main roster. They take everything away from him that made him popular in the first place. Now that he's in AEW, match quality is back to what it was. Presentation is fantastic. The fans are into it. And it's just like, just let them do what put them on your radar to begin with. Why change anything about them?
And I think his character has actually gotten even darker.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I love it.
I love the House of Black. I mean, with potentially Pac, Brody King, who we've been waiting for, and what more can you ask for? I was telling Justin this, like what people don't realize. People think, oh, it's their first time, teaming up. No. If you guys pay attention to PWG, that's when you know that when they made that tag team. There's a reason why they became the PWG tag team champions.
Yep, they're the current champions right now. Knights of the Black Throne, which I love that name. Sounds like a heavy metal album.
it really does, actually. I like that. I mean, well, Malachi Black, I can't even think of his actual real name. His real name is
Tommy End.
He went by Tommy End on the Independents before WWE. Yeah.
He's like, my real name is Tom. But I mean, that's actually him. I mean, if you look at the actual person, I mean, he's from the Netherlands or
the Netherlands.
He's from the Netherlands. He's really into black metal and everything with that kind of lifestyle. So I mean, that is him, and so that's why the character works so well. Because like we said, Joellen, what do you do?
It's one of those, like we always say, that is him turned up to 11, and that is the best way to. That's the best way for anybody to get over. Is just be yourself, but amplified.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you looked at whenever he first got released, I remember he did a lot of Twitch streams off of Zelda's account, and he said, hey, I want to check out this band, and he'll start playing like heavy, like dark metal. I'm like, this is really him. He is actually showing the side of him. And with the merchandise he's got out, he's actually just being himself like he needs to be. Him and Brody King both. Yep. And I can see, if not now, then soon, they're going to take over the tag team division eventually.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too.
So your podcast is actually a really good mixture of not just wrestling, but you try to cover all sports.
Yes.
Now, was that something you decided from the beginning, or is that something that kind of evolved to?
So whenever we first had the interview with Taylor Starlin, bare knuckle fighter, I pretty much run a account that's pretty much based off like all MMA, and I'm like, Joe, like let's do something different. And so I called Trey, I called Justin. I was like, how would you guys feel about having a bare knuckle fighter join us? They're like, are you kidding me? And so I sent them the video that she was a part of. And I'm like, let's get her on. Let's get her on. And so it was pretty much after that is when I pretty much started transitioning to all sports instead of just wrestling.
Okay. So y'all were all wrestling before Taylor Starling?
So before Jake came along, we always were talking about football and baseball, wrestling. And then we got Jake on, and then that's when we started, interviewing the bare knuckle fighters.
So expanding even more.
Yeah. So we never ever talked about, boxing. We never talked about, Logan Paul's fights and all that other stuff. It was strictly wrestling, professional wrestling, football, baseball.
And but the thing about it was like I kept telling them like, hey, like we need to be able to start doing some interviews because there's a lot of fighters who I actually got a chance to show my sport and try to be able to recognize. And there's a lot of fighters like like Sandra or this coming Thursday, Amy, is because even though they're not up and big, they're still fighters in their own ways. So I try to be able to get them on a show for a reason.
Yeah, because I one of your very first episodes I listened to, it just happened to be the Taylor Starling one, and it was actually live. And I was sitting there at my desk at work, and I got the notification that you were going live. And when I'm at work, I mean, it is hard for me to necessarily focus on it because, I mean, of course, I'm, I got to do my work or else I get in trouble.
Yeah.
And so, but that's if I'm at my desk at work, But I mean, but the truth of it, even if I'm sitting here, like for the next week, I'm going to be actually working from home. I have to. I'm still going to be focusing on the work, and I'll be listening to it. But I thought that was pretty neat. I was like, oh, okay, let me look up who this woman is, because I'm here, and that's when I was texting Dwayne, I'm going, hey, this whole bare knuckle boxing thing, and it's like it's actually or bare knuckle, what they call bare knuckle fighting,
bare knuckle fighting, yeah,
bare knuckle fighting. I thought it was actually them just going in there bare knuckles. I didn't realize that was the name of the organization.
Yeah. So it was actually really crazy because like Taylor and I, like I've got a chance to be able to talk to her every now and then, but I was like, I remember one day I was like, hey, would you be interested in doing an interview? She goes, names the day and tell me what time. And I was like, Monday sound good. And we never did a Monday show at the time. And so yeah, we was going to do it Monday. Then all of a sudden, last year, Britton Hart, who won Fighter of the Year, said, hey, can I join part of the show? I'm like, let's get her on. Let's get these two on, and and probably like, I think 1 week was Taylor, and after week it was Britton Hart. So it was just crazy.
And I hate that Riley Matthews had to that she had to cancel last night because of the storm situation in her area because they actually lost power apparently.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to guess that they are on Duke Energy because I'm actually on something that's not Duke Energy. I can't remember the actual name of it, but we're on a totally different power grid, and ours is actually pretty small, so we don't lose power very often. But yeah, that was a shame because Riley, I mean, because she was on our show back in the summertime, and it wasn't long after she had her debut because I actually was able to watch her debut, and actually, I guess I was her very first interview as well. But yeah, she's absolutely amazing, and she's got a bright future ahead of her. And I wish you guys would have actually been able to have her on, but I mean, I'm pretty sure she will be back on at some point.
Yeah, she basically she actually messaged me like 15 minutes before the show was actually starting, and I literally could not get a hold of Justin. I was like, I'm trying to call him, everything. He would not answer. I was like, bro, you need to answer my texts, my phone calls. Riley's not gonna be on. What are we gonna do?
I remember that last night before Trey joined on. He was like, okay, so what are we gonna do? We got an hour to try to waste time before we get Archer and Brooklyn to join us. I said, let's talk about how we covered the football game yesterday between the Eagles and Buccaneers. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about like just strictly football, so way that we know what to talk about and we don't have to worry. I mean, plain and simple.
Yeah, because he texted me and he said, hey, looks like Riley's not gonna be able to join because of the power issues. He said, would you be able to go on at 10 instead of 10:30? I was like, yeah, I don't have an issue. Let me hit up Dwayne and make sure he's cool with it. Because he may have had something going on at 9 o'clock his time. you know, because he's in Central Time Zone. And you know, so I hit him up. It's like, hey, you have any issues going on? Tell me. He's like, nope, let's do it. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, let's do it. And so then we had an hour. Like I said, I mean, I know normally your interviews have been like half an hour, but we were felt pretty privileged to be on there for an hour. And you know, so pretty good time. And
yeah, it really was.
yeah, so Dwayne, I had some questions at the top of my head, and they just went out because even though you're older than me, we established that last night. I think I think my memory's going. So if you have any questions,
let me check because we talked about some stuff earlier. Let me see. Like I know we talked last night about like favorite wrestlers. Okay, do either of you have a favorite tag team? Now we talked about singles wrestlers last night, but do y'all have a favorite tag team?
I'll go first. I'm gonna say mine is DX. Back in the day, you know, they really made me laugh, messing with Vince McMahon and all that stuff. I really enjoyed that.
To me personally, if there was like any tag team, I remember just like growing up. Don't get me wrong, I love Brothers of Destruction. I love Brothers of Destruction. I love the Steiner Brothers. I love the Legion of Doom. But if I had to pick like my favorite tag team of all time, it would have to be the Hardy Boys. Because you know that type of style, like tag teams, like they put their bodies on the line. But if it was like the TLC matches that we talked about last night, I mean, I've always thought that was like the coolest thing, just to see those guys do what they do the best. So yeah, it was pretty much the Hardy Boys to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know Dwaylen's all about the Midnight Express.
I do really like the Midnight Express, but my favorite all-time tag team is Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson.
Yeah, which crazy thing was I actually have a T-shirt involving them thanks to Pro Wrestling Tees. So yeah, I've watched a lot of their old stuff, and I can see why you like them.
So some of my favorite ones back in the day, of course, I mean the Road Warriors. Even though Road Warrior Hawk wanted to beat me up in an airport one time, but it's another story. Dwaylen's heard the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever ask the man why he's smoking in a non-smoking area.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, the Rock and Roll Express back in the day, and you know they're on their last tour this year. I don't know if y'all heard that.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, because Ricky wants to focus more, you know, and tag some with his son and kind of bring him up in the business. So, but I mean, they've had a phenomenal run.
Yeah.
I was never a huge fan of the Rock and Roll Express, but their style and presentation was way ahead of their time.
I agree. It was definitely way ahead of the time. I mean, you know, they'll be wrestling at GCW. So, I mean, plus many different
promotions. Yeah. But and some of the other ones, I mean, yeah, Tully and Arn, they were definitely a great team. You know, and I guess, you know, Joel and I guess we were kind of privileged and so because the era when we were watching wrestling, the WWF back in the 80s was really focused on tag teams. You wouldn't know it now because Vince hate, but I mean they had so many. They had, oh my God, you know, you had Demolition, you had the Killer Bees, you had like the Orient Express,
the Bulldogs, the Hart Foundation.
Yeah,
all them.
See, like this is what I love about AEW today is because we all talked about like why doesn't Raw build their tag team division? AEW, I love their tag team division. There's so many incredible tag teams. I mean, to me, I love Red Dragon, and I kept telling Trey, I said, I'm waiting to see the Briscoes versus FTR. We need to see this happen.
It's coming. It's coming. If you check out the Twitter war they've been having, it's coming. Whether it's I hope to see it in AEW, but I could see it happening in GCW, especially since the Briscoes are the GCW tag champions. And they put out an open challenge for the Hammerstein Ballroom. So I could see FTR showing up, challenge for the tag titles. But yeah, that feud has to happen. It's going to be great.
Oh, without a doubt.
And my other favorite tag team is actually not in WWE. It's actually in TNA, and that was Beer Money.
I did like Bear Money. That they were a really good team.
Man, you actually gave me a lot of reasons to think about Impact Wrestling, like tag teams back then. I mean, Beer Money. I mean, was it? We had so many great ones.
LAX.
The LAX, the British Invasion, the Main Event Mafia. If you want, Team 3D.
Yep. You had America's Most Wanted. You had Triple
America's
X.
Most Wanted.
You
City
had
Machine Gun.
Yep, Motor City Machine Guns. You had AJ and Christopher Daniels when they were tag team champions. Yeah,
Phenomenal.
TNA's tag division was pretty stacked for a while too.
Yeah. So, as far as like, I know you got some future guests lined up, and one of those is Wildcat Chris Harris. By the way, congratulations for getting him on your show. You, someone else you beat us to.
Mhm.
And I mean, honestly, I'll let you take the blame for that because I don't know why I should not feel intimidated by anybody, but just saying, oh my God, it's Walker Chris Harris. I don't want to have like another Road Warrior Hawk moment where he wants but a lot of times, I mean, I do see Chris Harris at the shows, and if you watch him, I mean, he's kind of watching. Sometimes he's up close to the ring, sometimes he's back a little bit, just where he can get a good vantage point. And the way he's watching them, I mean, he's like, and he's got the focus of a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell that's exactly what he's doing. And then just talking to some of the, hey Jake, we lost your video, man.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a phone call. My apologies.
Oh, okay. And now I got to look. See, I was looking. You know, miss my vision all up.
My apologies. I had a phone call. Hang on.
Well, he's having problems with his mom. She's in the hospital. It's probably
okay.
Oh, okay.
Jake, take care of what you got to take care of.
Yeah,
man. Hey.
Absolutely. Yeah, you take your time.
Yep. So I mean, we always say around for us, it's always family comes first.
Yep.
Exactly.
Period. Because we've actually canceled podcasts because we were record because something happens and we got to take care of that. So
yeah, she's got COVID and she passed out. She needed to go to the hospital. So
if Jake can't make it back because of that, I mean, it happens. We'd rather him take care of that than have to worry. We are not worth worrying about. Trust me.
Right.
I mean, Dwayne will tell you, I'm not worth worrying about at all. Not at all.
And as far as we would talk about Chris Harris, so I was actually talking to Riley,
okay,
and she was like, maybe I should talk to Chris Harris, and maybe I can hook you up with him on your show. It's a good idea. And how do I get a hold of him? And she basically said, Instagram's the best way to get a hold of him. But before that, I found him on Facebook and I messaged him. I messaged him through Instagram. I actually went to NWF the other day, and I seen these autographs signed by Carl Anderson. And I was like, how much is this? And, she's like $10. I seen the 8x10 of Chris Harris. I was like, how much are those pictures down the table? She's like, you did go ask her. I was like, okay. He's sideways.
My apologies, y'all.
Oh, no
problem.
So I just had a phone call. Trey knows about the situation.
He told us.
So pretty much they're keeping her overnight. So
okay.
I just got that. So, but they did a lot of stuff. So at least I know I've got some sort of information. But I'm all good now. I'm all good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, because one of the things about us, when we always say family comes first.
Yeah.
And if you would have to step away for that, it's not going to hurt our feelings whatsoever.
No, we would completely understand.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was telling Trey, I said, I'm gonna do this because I mean, while it's just the hospital, I mean, I'll get some sort of update, but I mean, I have to be able to try to do two things at once. Focus on this and helping out my family. You know what I mean?
Yep. We got you, man. So, but you were saying, Trey, about how you talked to Chris Harris.
Yeah. So like I said, I got the Carl Anderson autograph. Every time I go to NWF, I always think about Jake. Now, my very first NWF show, I seen the Carl Anderson autographs. I said, man, I don't have the extra money to buy him. I didn't have them. I went to this one. They actually had them. So I picked it up for him. I saw the Chris Harris 8x10 picture down there. I was like, man, this would be cool. And she's like, you need to go ask the lady down the table. And I go down there. I was like, how much is this? I go on and I say, no, I just messaged him on Instagram. I can't get a hold of him. Ended up being his wife.
Shannon. Yeah.
I had no idea, and I was thinking that was his agent. I don't know, So I'm sitting there acting like she's his agent, and Justin's comes over. I was like, this is his agent, and we're gonna get him on. And Courtney's like, that's his wife. I was like, oh shoot. I felt so embarrassed.
Yeah, she's actually really nice. So you probably tell that when you got a chance to talk to her. So yeah, see, Dwaylen, you've got to make your way to the NWF show. Apparently you too, Jake, you got to make your way to the NWF show.
Yeah. I was at Kentucky about November, and I was probably like maybe an hour away from you guys. So I'll definitely have to do that. Make sure once I go back up to Kentucky, I will get a chance to check out the show for sure.
Well, what part of Kentucky did you go to?
I pretty much went to London, Kentucky.
London, okay.
Yeah, that's where my dad's side of the family was from. I went up there to go spend Thanksgiving with them, and I've always loved it. I mean, I've always loved coming to Kentucky, and it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful.
Oh, well, he's been to London. Kentucky. Kind of off subject. There was actually a pretty good metal band out of London called Devastation Device that I discovered them. I'll say a few years ago. It was about 10 years ago now. And I know they've broken up now, but they sound like a cross between like Pantera and Lamb of God.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. Those are good.
So because I actually bought their album, and I was still stationed in England at the time, and I actually hit them up. Like, because they were. You could definitely hear the Pantera and the Lamb of God kind of an influence in there. So, I just figured I'd throw that in there. So
it's okay, because like when it comes to rock metal or heavy metal, I always like to get involved with conversations like that, especially since that's been a huge part of my life since I was little.
Wow, Dwaylen. It sounds like some of our conversations.
It really does.
So Trey, what is your music of choice?
I like the 80s, had the long-haired bands like Molly Crew, was it Metallica,
Poison.
Poison. I grew up with my dad and my grandma, always listening to the oldies station. So the difference between living at my mom's house and then going over to my grandma's house, I was mainly, over there. So that's how I grew up. So it stuck with me.
Wow. Well, he said oldies, and then he was mentioning the 80s stuff.
Wow. Yeah, the 80s music is actually on the oldie station now. So
that
it's
like,
With me, it's like I love the heavy metal alternative. Like I love all things rock. My oldest brother Matt, who has like a Dimebag Darrell tribute tattoo, got me into Pantera. But there was two bands that he got me really into: Slipknot and Metallica. Those are my huge influences because I've been playing music since I was little, and the two most influential drummers in my life was Lars Ulrich and Joey Jordison. Incredible. And I remember I do this daily, the Metallica S&M, the first ever S&M album. I listen to that on a daily just because of how much Lars puts into the music. And of course, don't forget about Joey Jordison. I mean, those were like my biggest all-time favorite heavy metal bands there is.
Yeah, because I know for me, I would consider myself a metalhead, but I do listen to a lot of at least a little bit of everything. Even when the new guy in NWF, was it Carson Drake? Was that his name? The guy comes out with the megaphone. Was he out there the other night?
He was not there.
Oh, that dude. Yeah, Joel. I know I texted you about him. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this guy's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But he came out and it was to Fanfare for the Common Man by Copeland. You know that do 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 do, you know
Mhm.
that one. And I was like, okay, I may be one of the only people in this room, at the time when I heard him come out, I may be one of the only people who actually know what that is because I played it in marching band back when I was in high school. But my music collection would have nothing compared to Dwalen's because
Mhm.
when I talk about you talk about span the gamut, yeah, Dwayne, I'm actually going to speak for you on this one because um, I mean, you're talking like if he had to if he had a CD, or records or tapes, because I mean, we're actually old enough. I've had. Wait, Joyland, did you ever have 8 tracks?
I did. I had a Kiss Destroyer on 8-track.
Yep, there you go.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yep. Yeah, I had like the Jay Giles band and things like that on 8 track. But his collection would take up his entire room back there, and probably still not have enough room for everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm just glad everything's digital now because it's
Yeah.
like I listen to seriously a little bit of everything. I mean, I've always liked rock, classic
Mhm.
rock, metal, but I also like the older I get, the more I get into country, not this pop stuff they want to do,
Pop
but
country.
yeah, not the pop country, but actual country where they actually have something to say. Like Chris Stapleton, I could listen to him sing the ingredients on shampoo. He's just phenomenal. Chris Stapleton's just
Oh.
amazing. Johnny Cash is my favorite country singer ever.
Mhm.
But I like hip hop. I like R&B. I like pop stuff. Just pretty much anything. There's usually at least one song by any artist that I listen to that I could actually like, even if I don't care for anything else they do. I can usually find one song. There was a meme I posted on Facebook and it said that my music taste goes from, hey, you need to check this out, and it goes all the way to don't judge me.
Yeah.
and everything in between.
And one of the things that we've been actually asking every wrestler when they come on, because we know the wrestlers, because they're traveling so much, so we always ask them about, what's on your road trip playlist. And one of the things I've found out is apparently old Kanye is good, new Kanye is not.
That's
No,
correct.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah, that's been the consensus of like everybody. And because how many people have actually said that, Dwayne? They're like, oh, yeah, like Kanye. No, old Kanye, they're not new Kanye. And Dwayne's like,
Yeah.
yep, exactly.
Yep.
I mean,
several
Oh,
yes.
people
man.
we've interviewed.
And
And
we
they're
did.
absolutely right. Like early Kanye is fantastic. New Kanye, he has lost his mind.
Yeah. And and we
Oh.
don't even prompt them with that. We don't even ask them, do you like Kanye? They all come out and say the same thing.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, like, I remember the Donda album came out last year, and I was spending time with my family. They're like, "Have you listened to the Donda album?" I was like, "Is it finally released?" I was like, "Tell me all about it." They said it was mostly about gospel and gangs. I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, no. I'm like, give me the old Kanye. I don't like this new Kanye.
Yeah.
And then there was that debate about which album was better, Donda or Drake's album at the time. I was like,
It was
neither.
Drake.
It was Drake. It
if
was
you
Drake,
had to pick one, it was Drake, but neither one of them were very good. It's just Drake was the better of the two.
Yeah, I definitely do agree for sure.
And I want to show my favorite band. I don't know if Jake will know them, but I guarantee both of you will know. That's
Who?
Skid Row.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
who it is.
Yeah.
I love Skid Row.
The early Skid Row was Sebastian Bach or the after
Yep.
after yep.
Oh no, to me there is no Skid Row after he left,
Right.
because it's
Hey,
like that.
man.
His voice was like Sebastian Bach's voice was like made their entire sound. Without his voice, it's just like it's a cover band now.
Now, what's your favorite song?
My favorite song ever.
By Skid Row.
By Skid
favorite
Row.
song by Skid Row.
Mine's 18 in Life and I Remember You.
Mine is Monkey Wrench.
Now, yeah.
Well,
Mine would have to be a toss up between I Remember You and Wasted Time.
Wasted Time's a good one. Yeah.
that's a really good one. That's a really good one. I guess I would say Wasted Time. Considering I don't really listen to much Skid Row, but I have listened to Wasted Time. We talked about that. I mean, it's kind of like with Alice in Chains. Whenever we're talking about the old Alice in Chains or the new Alice in Chains. The old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man in the Box, Alice in Chains.
Brewster, Wood. Oh my God, that
Mhm.
was so incredible. I mean, I remember listening to Wood, and every time if like Trey would call me, he would hear that playing. He was like, "Are you listening to Alice in Chains?" I'm like, "Yeah."
So as far as what the future of y'all's podcast is, like future guests, who all do you have lined up, like for certain, or is there anybody that you think you might get, or you just want to kind of keep it under wraps until you actually have it confirmed?
Oh, I know one that is a really huge one. It's gonna cause Jake to have a heart attack.
We already talked about Chris Nelson or Chris Harris. I mean, who are you talking about?
I can't partially say, we reached out to the agent. It's gonna be a really hard time trying to get him on, but we're trying.
Yeah.
I'll tell you guys later. Justin wants it to be under wraps.
The DL, yeah.
Do the Jake down there, but as of right now, the only ones I think are lined up are just Juice, Riley, and Chris Harris.
Okay.
And from as far as like the fighting side, I mean, we got Amy Pidudo joining us on Thursday, and I got a chance to talk to Lights Out Kat Nelson. She's on her way to Saudi Arabia for a fighting tournament down there. She told me when she comes back, she'll get just join us. So yeah, I sent Trey one of her fights, and yeah, she's like, okay, that's cool. So we get Kat Nelson to join us next month.
Oh, cool.
I'm also trying to reach out to Jordan Clearwater too.
Yeah, we're trying to reach out to a few people, trying to get them on. Sometimes we get met with silence. Sometimes we get met with, I'll get you back with you later. And and nothing ever happens. And I've just talking to other people are like, that so-and-so person is really bad about getting back with people. They'll send them a message and then you won't hear anything. And it's nothing. It's just, they don't respond to messages because sometimes they just don't see them.
Right.
Or they're just bad. They just procrastinate. And next thing you know, they forget about it. But I mean, definitely wish y'all luck as far as getting people on there, because I know we've had some luck. We've had some success getting people on. Other times, not so much.
Yeah.
No, I reached out to Eugene. He used to wrestle for WWE.
Nick Dinsmore. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to reach out to him. I actually reached out to his wrestling company, and they actually responded to me, and they said that they would forward this over to him, but he never got back with me.
I remember I was telling Trey that something like, what happens if we get someone from the Bullet Club to get a chance to join us? Like, what do you mean? So I actually messaged Chase Owens. He was like, okay, you want me on the show? Great. Just pay me $100.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say who the person was, but there is a wrestler who apparently thinks he's a lot bigger than what he is, because I talked to him personally face to face about coming on, and he said, sure. He's like, do I get paid? Is there money involved? What? I was like, what? I was like, I don't even get paid. What do you mean do you get paid? And I'm like, I mean, you've never gone beyond, an indie company. And nothing against the indie companies, obviously, but you're not that, you haven't hit that level yet.
Right.
And like you're barely at this level. And now he's no longer with this company. He's considered persona non grata now because of his attitude.
Yep.
And in fact, we were actually warned. It's kind of funny. Joanne and I were actually warned specifically about him by some other people, and I just started laughing. I was like, I've already had some issues with him. And they're like, it doesn't. Yeah, because I mean, so he's considered persona non grata, and I'm like, Yeah, and we're enjoying it. We've said we are not going to get involved in that kind of drama.
Oh no.
Right.
No.
Yeah, because
No.
we're not the wrestling TMZ. I mean,
No, and he's not dragging us down with him. So no.
No.
Now, I'm hoping to. My goal is for me and the crew over at the J and Trey podcast is to knock this interview out of the park with Chris Harris, and I'm hoping it will lead to the Cowboy coming up on our show.
The thing is, like with me, is like whenever Trey told me that we were gonna get Chris Harris to join us, because like I was telling him, I'm like, you guys have not seen prime Chris Harris and whenever you guys do. I was like, you guys missed out on so many incredible matches that they had. The steel cage match, I think it was with Felix and Christopher Daniels or someone at Turning Point, and then there's like the feud with Styles and Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys need to see Asylum / TNA Chris Harris.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to have to work on that.
Yeah.
So, Dwaylen, do you have anything else?
No, not right now. I've enjoyed talking to you guys. I appreciate y'all coming on the show, and just hope you have much success with your podcast.
Now, I am a Special Olympic athlete of Northern Kentucky. Would you guys be interested in maybe having a Special Olympic athlete on your show, or is it strictly wrestling?
We do try to keep it strictly wrestling.
Gotcha.
It's some kind of affiliation, because I'll explain to you a little bit later on why we have to have this. More in detail, I should say. When we start inviting like non-wrestling things, it kind of opens up floodgates for other people to go, well, you had so and so on. Why can't I come on?
Yeah.
So,
I feel you.
Yeah, and there was actually specific instances as to why we had to do this. So,
Gotcha.
but I mean, if I know of any other podcasts, where you're a friend or your fellow athlete wants to come on, I'll definitely let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check around
it.
and see what I can find out, because my son did Special Olympics for several years, so I'll ask around this area and see if I know any podcasts that that have Special Olympic athletes on them.
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun. I kept telling Trey and Justin, we need to do this, because I've been listening to you guys for quite some time. It's like I became a really huge fan of you guys, and I can also say on behalf of myself, Trey and Justin, we just appreciate you guys allowing us to be a part of the show.
Yeah.
It's definitely been a lot of fun.
Wow. Hey, Dwaylen, that one listener we've been trying to figure who it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think I found him. So
it's him and then Justin. They're all on top of you. But
well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
On behalf of the J and Trey podcast, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate the invite to your show, and I hope we get to be back on again.
Oh, I see. I see us doing some things, back and forth. Definitely, in the future. And if anybody wants to listen to you, if anybody wants to watch you, because I know you were video only, and then Justin said, I guess Dwaylen and I inspired you to get some audio platforms, and then y'all did the opposite to us. Y'all inspired us to go video.
To do the video, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched. I was like, dude. I said, I think it's time. And Joy was like, yeah, we got to show the ugly. So, so yeah, we definitely. But how would somebody view you or listen to you?
Pretty much. Go ahead, Trey. Go ahead.
Well, Jake's the better promo person.
If you guys want to get a chance to check us out, make sure you guys head over to Spotify, Google Play, and of course Apple Podcasts. We also have our social media pages, Facebook, TNC SportsTalk. Same thing with Instagram. We're trying to work on the Twitter side, Instagram, TikTok. We're actually doing a giveaway for 2 Bryan Danielson autographs for January 29th. So if you guys want to get a chance to enter that, head over to TikTok, TNC SportsTalk. Click on over to the pinned post that I made. Just follow us, share the video and leave a comment. And then two winners will be announced on January 29th before the Royal Rumble event.
Awesome. How about merch?
And then
Trey?
we actually announced our February giveaway too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And that is a autograph picture of Chris Harris.
Cool.
Merchandise. Trey, you know about the merchandise too, don't you?
I could not tell you the
thing. The merchandise. If I was y'all, I would head over to our Facebook and then we'll give you all the information. If not, just head over to YouTube and then our whole description thing will be right there, right, so pretty much for y'all to see.
Yeah, in fact, I know during your program it's streaming the entire time, and I told Dwayne, he's like, oh man, he said that is so cool.
Yeah,
it's like, so Dwayne and I, we've actually like going, maybe we should switch over. Maybe we should look into this thing that they're using because you could do a whole lot of stuff that we haven't figured out yet.
Yeah.
But definitely, if you have not listened to Jay and Trey, also known as TNC SportsTalk, go check them out. I will try to provide a link as well to your show within our show description. I'll also put it on Facebook. I'll put it on Twitter as well. I haven't quite figured out the effective way to use Instagram as far as advertising the show because Instagram is all about pictures. So that's why I don't usually advertise the episodes. But yeah, I definitely see some collaborations coming up in our future. Like I said, if we can get the whole simulcast thing going on, that would be absolutely fantastic. So
yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right. But until then, I will wish you guys good luck and God bless.
Thank you
God
guys.
bless, guys.
Thank you guys.